Virginia Cinquemani. 10 questions in 10 minutes. Are you ready?
Ready?
Okay. So when someone asks you, so what do you do? What do you answer?
Good question. I answer that I'm the founder and director of Green Gorilla, which is a training and coaching company focused on sustainability professionals to empower them to make an impact.
Wow, that was quick and intense.
You can tell.
Fantastic. So, Virginia, what is your definition of success?
For me, success is not necessarily money or just money, but it's finding your ikigai. So the combination between what you're good at, what you love doing, what the world will pay for, and what the world needs. And so when you manage to find that sweet spot in, between these four elements, I think you're there. So that's success for me.
Wow, amazing. So how important is the idea in a successful business for you?
I'd say it's the spark. Without an idea, you don't have a business, and that's obvious. But it's literally just that initial motivation, that initial, when you feel, your gut is sort of having butterflies. That's the beauty of the idea. That's what motivates you to go ahead and explore it. But then it's sort of the tip of the iceberg. And then underneath you got so much more to do. The idea is also useful to go back to now and then to remind yourself when you are maybe, in one of the downs, or when, the up and downs of a business. If you remind yourself of the idea and why you're doing it, then you might find yourself, in a better place immediately. But it's literally probably 5% of everything, 10%.
5%. Wow.
Yeah.
I would agree. So what advice would you give to someone who has a strong desire to turn an idea into a business, but hasn't started yet?
I think you just have to try it. If you have an idea, but you don't have a plan, it stays like a dream. It's a dream in your drawer, but it never comes out of the drawer. However, the idea has to be explored and planned carefully. And I think, being an entrepreneur, you have to have a good balance between throwing yourself and following your gut instinct, which I think is fundamental if you are an entrepreneur, but also planning really carefully and exploring and developing, say, the minimum viable product. So something that demonstrates to you and to your customers that this is something that has legs. So you have to explore, you have to plan, you have to see the connections and the possible consequences. And once you have mapped it entirely on a piece of paper, on the back of an envelope, or whatever, on the computer, then start from whatever, speak to people. That's the main thing, probably. Speak to people, tell them, I got this idea, what do you think? And that's, I think, the first step.
Talk to people, plan, just start.
Yeah.
I like that. So, Virginia, what was the best advice you were ever been given?
Okay, I did have a mentor for a long time when I was working in the corporate world, but I think the biggest, the best advice I've been given, I read it on a book. Sometimes books are the best mentors you can have. And that's why, I have a pile that I still have to read because I really love it. I do get a lot of ideas for my business from books. But this one was from Richard Branson, sir.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're familiar with it because the book is called Screw It, Let's Do It. And, when I was talking a minute ago about the business instinct or, gut instinct, I think that is an absolutely fundamental part of any business. So when you find yourself stuck, and you do sometimes in a business, often, when you're like, okay, what should I do now? Or maybe you know what to do, but you're scared. Screw it, let's do it. It's sometimes I make this comparison. I see a paper wall in front of me, but it's literally, I know it's a paper wall. You just need to poke it. And after that, you are in a different dimension. And sometimes, problems seem bigger before you actually, put them in action. And then when you just screw it, let's do it. Then, all of a sudden you're like, okay, actually that wasn't too bad. So I think I try and live by that. For a long time, in fact, similarly, along these lines, I had the Nike logo next to me. Just do it. To remind myself that, there are things that you don't want to do. There are things that are boring. There are things that are scary. But you know what? After that, you're going to be better off, and you're going to, get on with your life and do what you actually enjoy.
Absolutely. Great mantra. Great mantra. Virginia, what was the biggest mistake you made in business?
Okay, so before Green Gorilla, I would say about 4 years ago, maybe not 5 years ago, I tried to do something completely different. I was still working in the corporate world, but I wanted to break free, and I wanted to do a mobile coffee business. So something entirely different. I live near London, and so, coffee is a trend that has been going up and up and up in the last few years. I live in a small town where there wasn't anything like this. So I thought, actually, perfect. I'm going to buy an app. It ended up not being an app. It was, another little van. But, and I'm going to just be by the station and sell coffee, but also Sicilian delicacies, because I'm Sicilian. Yes. And it never really started. And the biggest mistake there was to throw myself, maybe, I followed my own mantra too quickly and too fast there, because I bought the van, I started investing, I started really doing everything before actually exploring, going back to the point before actually, you end up being a problem with the local administration, with the local authority, the licensing. So it was literally just bureaucracy that stopped me from doing it.
So much like Italy.
Well, you know what? Very similar. I couldn't believe it. I thought England would have been a lot more, upfront in this sense, or, more modern. Yeah. But in the end, I didn't do it. And I spent a lot of money. I've invested a lot of money and ended up not doing it. So I learned from that. You have to do your research. You have to do your market research. You have to do all the admin work and the due diligence before starting and throwing yourself. And at the right time, throw yourself.
So do the homework first before launching. Yeah, that's a great advice. That's a great advice. I'm sure you had some of these. So what was your greatest success or victory so far?
I think the biggest victory and satisfaction for me is the fact that I have broken free from the corporate world. It's a scary place when for the first time you throw yourself and say, okay, I haven't got a salary anymore. I have to, do everything to put bread on the table for me and the children. And it's very, very scary. But the satisfaction of actually seeing customers coming in and, and seeing my business grow. I mean, I'm still at the startup phase because it's been 2.5 years. So until 3 years, I can't say, it's an established business, but it's going well, looking up. And I think, the fact that I found the courage to do it for me is great. Second to that, immediately, is having written a book in the meantime as well, to frame the framework that I use for my training and my coaching. So I think these two things that, fill me with pride, but it's been a lot of hard work.
Fantastic. You've done a lot in 2.5 years, Virginia. So what advice would you give to yourself if we had a time machine in the moment before launching your first business?
I would go back and say, okay, brace yourself. But don't lose hope. I'm an optimist. I'm a, terrible optimist, because I always see the the glass half full, which helps me going through. I'm very resilient. So I think this thing, brace yourself, is a long journey. I'm not patient at all, but you have to learn to be patient when you are an entrepreneur. And just, enjoy the ride as well, because it's fun. So I think these two things are mainly my own advice to myself, I'd say.
Fantastic. Be aware of the roller coaster, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Should you find yourself starting from zero, Virginia, again, what is the first thing you would do?
Do you know, I have lots of ideas. And I think, like any other entrepreneur, I believe, we have a whole load of things. Oh, I could do this, I could do that. Actually, reining them in is the problem, is not getting distracted and actually focusing on what you got and that is working. That sometimes is an issue. So I would say I would go back to my passions. I would go back to what I have in my little book of ideas and say, okay, let's start again and let's try. The other thing, I mean, at the beginning of the lockdown in spring, I found myself without many contracts. I found myself in a difficult position. And that was pretty much like starting from zero for me. But I just pulled myself together and I thought, okay, you have this knowledge, you got these training courses. Let's put them together in a package that people would get value from. That's the other thing that I didn't mention before. The idea is nothing if you don't know what your customer wants. Yeah. I think lots of people start from an idea, but they don't they don't step into their client's shoes. If the customers have a different idea, you don't know until you ask them. That's why you need to speak to people. Yeah. And that's the main thing. If you respond to a need, a genuine need or a want as well, then fine, you got something. But if you are coming from your own point of view and you don't ask other people's point of view, then you don't have a business. So I will start from there.
Yeah, agree. Question number 10. What is the idea you're working on right now?
So until this point with Green Gorilla, I worked with individuals. I now see how if we really want to have sustainability as a no-brainer for everyone and really change the world for the better, businesses have to adapt and businesses have to change pretty fast as well. Mm-hmm. So I would love, and I'm working towards that, to come up with a corporate package so that I actually transform businesses from the inside. I coach leaders in businesses to really embrace sustainability, not just, we recycle the bottles and we use recycled paper, because that's not it. It's literally reshaping businesses so that they charge fairly, they use ethical supply chains, they really think about the impact they have in the environment, and they transfer that to their staff. Mm-hmm. So I think that will make a much bigger impact in the world than what we managed so far. So that's the idea.
Fantastic, Virginia. So we're done. 10 questions in almost 10 minutes. What we will do now, first of all, I would like to thank you for your time and your insights. And to you and to everyone, we will reconnect live in about 5 minutes to have a chat behind stage, to have a chat with Virginia, fantastic Sicilian in England. A fra poco.
Thank you.
Thank you.